Hello, Stephen. You are live on Beyond the Edge of Reality. How are you, sir?
Yes, hey, it's me, Steve. How are you doing? I'm doing great.
I am doing great, and it's a real pleasure to have you on the air today. And we have a lot of things to talk about. I've viewed a lot of your videos and everything, and I'm just really fascinated with all the things that you actually do.
Well, thank you, thank you. It's good to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm not sure how we should start this out, so I'm just going to let you have the floor. I see one of the main things that is really getting my attention is the astral projection series that you've done on YouTube. I find it a very fascinating topic.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, we do have a few YouTube videos out there with some astral projection information, and we also have a very robust program, which is about 18 hours of training in astral projection. And yeah, I really have enjoyed astral projection ever since I was a kid in high school.
Wow, so you've been doing it a long time then.
Yeah. This is the early '80s that I got into it in high school, and we created the program recently to teach people the knowledge that I've developed in that time. But yeah, I just got a book about it and started doing it, and it's a fascinating thing because your soul is leaving your body, and you can do that. You do it every night when you're asleep anyway, but when you do it in full consciousness, it's very interesting. You get to have quite the adventures.
Oh yeah, I can definitely tell. So let me ask you this: so is it possible for you to actually leave your body and actually do like harm to other people when you're doing this? The reason I'm asking is somebody had emailed me this morning and asked me that very second question.
I imagine you can do harm with anything to anyone if you're really creative. So I wouldn't say no. Um, I'm not thinking of any ways to do that right now. I don't know of any ways to do that, but I imagine someone who was not well adjusted could come up with a whole list of ways.
Yeah, that is incredible. Let me ask you this, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot because I know I haven't really talked to you about this. Now, how do you feel about the paranormal, like paranormal occurrences or paranormal activity? Because usually people in this type of field or in the field of psychology, they don't really mix very well.
Yeah, well, luckily I discovered psychology in high school. I had a good psychology class in high school and the paranormal at the same time. So for me, they've just gone hand in hand as I've developed my career. And even though I have, studied at Harvard and beyond studying at Harvard, I actually have a doctorate in education. These are all, mainstream universities. You would think, well, a guy like me wouldn't have an interest in the paranormal or the metaphysical, but those interests for me have developed side by side over the years. So I have a strong interest both in academia and in extra academic studies and metaphysical studies.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's just I'm just really impressed because I've never been under hypnosis, but I'm sure certainly not against it as what I kind of, because you do past life experiences and things like that through hypnosis as well, do you not?
Yes. In fact, we just shot a video program for past life regression hypnosis certification, so people can get certified in that. Yes, I've been delving into past lives ever since I first started delving into hypnosis. As a kid in military school, I was hypnotizing people in my bunk bed as a teenager and bringing them back to their past lives. I was fascinated by it then, and then I read about David Weiss, the medical doctor who's into past life regression through hypnosis, and he was one of the early inspirations for me to pursue both, develop academically and continue my strong metaphysical interest.
Yeah. So how does hypnosis help people that like let's say they have a failure, maybe a motivation, they're not motivated and they want to go under hypnosis? How would that apply to somebody that's just not motivated.
Can you rephrase the question, please?
Yeah. People that have like motivational issues, can self-hypnosis help in that way?
Yes, absolutely. Hypnosis for motivation is very common, in fact, for motivation and confidence. And by the way, the author's name I meant to mention a few moments back was Brian Weiss, not David Weiss. David Weiss is a chiropractor friend of mine. I get them confused sometimes. But the motivation for hypnosis is very powerful, and it's a very common use of hypnosis to motivate someone to stop smoking, or to lose weight, or to make more money, or to get out on the dating scene more, to attract a mate. A lot of different motivational uses when it comes to hypnosis.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, have you ever placed somebody under hypnosis that has actually had paranormal experiences?
Yes, I remember a lady who came to me when I had my office in Beverly Hills in the Roxbury Medical Building in about the year 2001. She came to me and she said that she had been abducted by aliens and impregnated by aliens 7 times. And she did have children. She had 3 of her own children. I met them later on, and they were not aliens that I could tell. But she felt that she had been impregnated by aliens. Whether she had or not, I don't know. There was no clear evidence of it. But from time to time, I do have people come to my office who feel that they have had extraterrestrial experiences, and I to this day I have not been able to verify or validate any of them, but it does happen from time to time.
Wow. How do you handle it? What kind of approach do you take to, when somebody comes to your office and says, "Hey, I've been abducted by aliens."
Right.
What do you do? How do you?
Well, you all, as with any therapy, you have to work within the belief system of the person. I mean, if you just directly confront them and say, "No, you haven't. Those are human children that you have," then they're going to have a problem with that. It's not going to register with them because they are into their belief system. Now, who am I to say that didn't happen? Maybe she did have some alien children. I don't know. As I said, I was not able to verify that one way or the other. So you always work within the belief system of the person. And when you work with people in a therapeutic setting, in something such as hypnosis, you come across a lot of very interesting belief systems. But you always honor that system, and rather than attempting to dispel it or discredit it, you work within it to get them the change they needed. In her case, she didn't come to me wanting to not believe in aliens anymore. She came to me wanting to work on self-confidence and to be calm about things in her life.
When folks are under hypnosis, do they generally tell the truth?
That's difficult to say. I haven't verified that. I would say that they are more prone to tell the truth. There's still the conscious factor that's intact. So if they were deeply into hypnosis, I would say yes, they are telling the truth because they don't have an option. You're talking to their subconscious mind. But someone can be in a light state of hypnosis in which their conscious mind is still intact, and so the conscious mind can step in for a minute and lie.
So how long, when you're placing these people under hypnosis, how long does it normally take, or is every case different, or?
Well, the way I do it, which is not the right way or the wrong way, it's just the way I do it, it takes about 20 minutes for me to get them into hypnosis. But I do it through a relaxing process. I mean, I spend 2 hours with the person the first time. An hour of it we're just talking, then the second hour is devoted to the hypnotherapy. So I spend about 20 minutes putting them into hypnosis once we're in the hypnotherapy hour. And from there, I gently start making the positive suggestions for change.
Yeah, it's just, it's fascinating. When you put people under, the hypnosis, does each subject act differently? And number two, is it really possible, like some of these shows that I've seen on TV where the hypnotist can make the person or the subject actually like bark like an animal or, make sounds of an animal? Is this actually truthful?
Mm-hmm. Well, to answer your first question, everyone does act differently in a stage hypnosis setting, which is what you're describing. You're describing potentially two different things. There's clinical hypnotherapy, which is just helping someone lose weight or stop smoking or get more motivated. And then there's stage hypnosis, which is where barking like a dog happens. It also happens in street hypnosis, where someone goes out to a street and hypnotizes people. So that is real. Those people are very suggestible. They're actually under hypnosis. I've been to stage hypnosis shows, several of them. I've been on stage as a participant. I can tell you from firsthand experience, it is real. You are actually in hypnosis. But clinical hypnotherapy is different from that. Clinical hypnotherapy is just programming someone usually, and they're usually not saying anything or doing anything. They're just lying down on a couch or sitting in a chair with their eyes closed, and they're just listening to what you're saying. The hypnotherapist is programming them for positive change.
Yeah, so that answers that on does it work on does hypnosis work on all people, or are there some people that because they believe it don't work that it won't work? Do you have to believe within what you're doing for it to work, or does that have anything to do with it?
It really doesn't have anything to do with it. There's a scale. That was a good question. And Harvard and Stanford, the schools, they came up with a scale for that called the hypnotic scale of susceptibility. I don't like that word. I call it suggestibility. And in fact, after I got my doctorate, I took their earlier work on that and I revamped their scale and turned it into a quiz, which is much easier to administer. But what their scale does, what my scale does, is it produces a numeric value of how suggestible you are. So you can rank someone on a scale from 1 to 10 to see how suggestible they are. And that test, if anyone wants to take it, is available at my website, so you can check it out. But essentially, everyone can be ranked on a scale of suggestibility from a 1 to 10. You can find out how suggestible you are, and different people are differently suggestible. But one thing that does not have a bearing and does not affect results whatsoever is how much they believe that they are hypnotizable.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. So I will. I've answered. You've answered a lot of questions that I've got, and so I'm just going to let you go ahead and talk about what your favorite thing to talk about is, Stephen. As you've got so much, and I'm just going to go ahead and give you the entire floor here.
Okay. Well, you can always check out my website, which is just my name, Steve G. Jones, and add a .com at the end, stevegjones.com. That's where you'll find the version of the test that I reworked and modernized. You can just click on the link about the suggestibility test and find out where you fall in that scale. Also have a free giveaway for you there, a free hypnosis recording, so you can check it out at no charge. But I think it's important for people to know that a lot of the ailments that they suffer with are in fact psychosomatic. They're caused by their subconscious minds. You can think yourself sick. And once people really start to tap into this notion, you realize that you have a lot more power than you thought. I mean, we have a lot of drugs now. We have a lot of disorders now. We have a lot of categories of things that you can fall into being wrong with you. And there's something that can be sold to you, a drug that's going to help you. And I'm not opposed to, believe it or not, I'm not opposed to the pharmaceutical industry. I think that they're doing a wonderful job of helping people. But at the same time, I'm very much aware that a lot of times when people do turn to drugs, I'm talking about legal drugs that have been prescribed by a medical doctor, there is an alternative that they may not have been aware of, which is changing the way they're thinking. And I'm talking about things, not just hypnosis, but I'm also talking about meditation. Sometimes just taking a vacation can be good. A lot of times psychosomatic illnesses, psycho meaning mind, somatic meaning body, so something that's manifesting itself in your body that originates in your mind, a lot of times those things are stress related. Stress is a huge source of ailment these days, and we've got a lot of sources for stress now. Some of the things that are designed to help us are actually stressing us out. For example, social media. It's great on the one hand because it puts us in touch with people, but on the other hand, it's this public image. Everyone's a celebrity now. Every 65-year-old grandmother who gets on Facebook is suddenly a celebrity. Everything that she does, that she puts on there, can be known by every other person on the planet if they care to look. That creates a certain level of stress that was not there in the past. I am in no way advocating against social media. I think it's a wonderful thing, but at the same time, we've got to realize that this more complex world that we live in now is actually a more stressful world. We no longer have the ability to isolate ourselves, to go away for a real vacation, because there are cell phones and email, and there's a way that people can reach into what you are doing no matter where you are. And if you have a public persona, someone can always post something on your wall or tweet something about you, and this is always going on. This never stops. And because of that, society, meaning the entire world now, has potentially been exposed to much more stress. And so we're just going to see an increase in disorders being categorized. There are going to be new disorders and so forth. A lot of them have stress as a basis. And the way to combat this is to really go back to basics. I'm not saying get rid of your computer or your cell phone. I'm a strong advocate of staying in touch with people through social media and email. But what I am saying is that you've got to have downtime built in. You've got to have vacation time, even if it's just a vacation in your home, a staycation as they call it. Shut that cell phone off. Turn the computer off. Now, if you want to step it up a notch and you want to turn to hypnosis, then by all means, check out my website, stevegjones.com. I've got hypnosis recordings in about 250 categories. Stop smoking, lose weight, get motivated, become confident. Also got a way for you to become certified in hypnotherapy if you want to help spread the word about this healing modality. But if you don't want to avail yourself to that, at the very least, I would suggest finding time to just tune out. I was talking to a doctor at Cedars-Sinai recently, Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, and he says that he strongly suggests and advocates, in fact, meaning he takes a strong stance on this, meditation for a lot of his people who come to. I almost said customers, and they are customers. They go to him and they have these ailments, and he's a neurologist, and he's helping them, but for a fee. And at Cedars-Sinai, if you've ever gone there, it's not a cheap fee. And a lot of times, what he points out is what all these people really need is meditation or hypnosis or a way to de-stress. They don't need drugs. They don't need long-term therapy. They just need to unplug, to tune out for a little while. So that's the main message I would share, that a lot of the power that you feel that you need to change your body, to get your body more healthy, a lot of that power that you feel that you need, you already have. You just need to realize that.
Hypnosis is incredible, and I am going to see if I can do one to quit smoking, because I can't quit otherwise.
Okay, well, I would stop using the word can't. That would be my first advice, because you can quit otherwise. You just haven't yet. So empower yourself with that. You just haven't yet, but you will.
Right. So let me ask you this. Somebody was asking me here just a little while ago. They're asking me, can hypnosis make you do something that you don't want to do?
Well, again, getting back to the question that you asked at the beginning, and the answer that I gave, a clever, poorly adjusted mind could come up with a way to get someone to do something that they don't want to do through trickery, through hypnosis. So The unfortunate answer is yes, but it would be very difficult to do. And it would take, really the wrong kind of person to do it. The kind of person you wouldn't want to have hypnotize you anyway. So I have actually never heard of any cases of that. Nowadays everything's so public anyway. If you have a concern about a hypnotherapist, just Google them and see what people say. Could be people want to go to hypnotherapists sometimes, and they don't know about them. So they want to check them out. I run the American Alliance of Hypnotists, which is a global network for referring people to hypnotists in their area around the world. So you can check out the American Alliance of Hypnotists. If you see any hypnotists that we have in our registry that I have personally trained, by the way, and you have a question about them, you can always email my office on a link there. So that's one way to find out. But to answer your question, through trickery, of course, you can misuse any tool. You can drown someone in 3 inches of water, or you can use that water to, save someone who's dying of thirst. There's a way to use and misuse anything, but I have not heard of any instances of that, just due to the high level of professionalism that hypnotists bring to the world.
Yeah, it's hypnosis is fascinating. I just know nothing about it, and it's usually, when I'm talking about stuff, I know quite a bit about it, but there's so much to learn, and this is just very fascinating. I got another question that was asked. The person is asking, when the person is undergoing hypnosis, while they're asleep, are they conscious or are they unconscious?
Well, they're essentially unconscious, but you can be unconscious and still be aware, which is, and I should explain that anytime you're in the level of, anytime you're in alpha, what we call alpha or lower, you are considered to be in some level of an unconscious state. But you can be in alpha when you drive a car, read a book, watch TV, when you just wake up, when you just go to sleep, when you're drifting off to sleep, when you're taking a shower, when you're vacuuming. You can be in alpha, which is actually an unconscious state. You can be in that while you think you're wide awake. Now, it's the lightest unconscious state. It's the lightest stage of hypnosis, in fact. But this state we call alpha is measurable through tracking brainwave frequency. So once you reach a certain threshold, once your brainwaves slow down to a certain frequency, you are considered to be in an unconscious state. Now, you're not going to be asleep, you're not going to be snoring, but you are in the light. You're not going to be what we would look at and call asleep, but you are in a hypnotic state. So we could say that you are in an unconscious state while still being able to function. And you're in this state off and on throughout your entire day. When you read a book or watch TV or ride a bike, things that you do when you can just kind of space out, zone out, daydream. Things that you do that you know how to do really well. For example, a surgeon performing surgery can go into hypnosis. They can go into the state of alpha just because they know how to tie up that artery because they've done it 1,000 times. They don't really need to put a whole lot of thought into it. They don't need to be overly excited about it. So they don't need to be fully conscious. And if that sounds scary, that surgeons are performing surgery while they're in what we could technically defined as an unconscious state, don't worry about that. That's normal. That's the way the brain is designed. That these rote things that we do, that we know how to do really well, don't require us to be fully alert. In fact, it's advantageous for the patient for that surgeon to be in alpha, the lightest state of hypnosis, because he or she would then be more focused on what they're doing and blocking out any potential distractions. Now, if something happened in the outside world that needed their attention, they would be able to respond. If there was a fire in the building, God forbid, during that surgery, they'd be able to respond. If there's an ambulance coming, which I hear now, they would be able to respond. But if they they don't have to. They can maintain that focus. So it's actually very helpful. Virtuoso pianists, people who play piano at a very high level, they are able to go into hypnosis and focus on what they're doing, and it actually helps them. So the fact that we go into this technically defined unconscious state off and on throughout our days, especially when we're performing what we're really good at, is not a bad thing. It's actually a very helpful thing.
Yeah. In one of your segments and I got it off YouTube here on the main page I created for you, it says, "You can attract it." What was that segment about, Stephen?
Well, I wrote the book You Can Attract It with my co-author Frank Mangano, who is a consumer health advocate. And we wrote that based on the law of attraction, the idea that what you put out there, you'll get back. If you focus on having abundance, you'll get abundance. If you focus on negativity, you'll get negative things in your life. But it was based on the earlier work done in a book and movie called The Secret. And a lot of our friends were in that movie. Joe Vitale, John Asseroff, Lisa Nichols, a lot of people we know and respect were in that movie and in the book. And so we wanted to build on that. What I bring to the table is academic knowledge. With my doctorate in education, I know how to research things. And I know that what I could bring to the idea of the law of attraction is actual factual references that show people a reference they can go to in a journaled study that backs up what we're saying. So we presented all the same ideas that they're presenting in The Secret, except we did it in such a way that they were backed by factual references, which was our contribution to the law of attraction world. The Secret is great. It stands alone as a very powerful tool. So if we were to do something in addition to that, we needed to bring something more to the table that they didn't, just something different that would add to the body of knowledge rather than be redundant. So our addition was this highly researched book with all of the references, all of the scientific references given. We have footnotes for all of them, and they're all listed in the back, so people can go to a library, a research library at a graduate level institution, pull that journal, read the study themselves, and see, yeah, this stuff's real. They're not just saying things. These are actual facts.
Yeah. Isn't it that the military uses a form of hypnosis as a mind control technique for like MIT and so on?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Someone's using mind control at MIT, did you say?
Yeah, military intelligence, they use a form of mind control, which is just another form of hypnosis. For like interrogation purposes and so on. I was reading an article about it, and it's actually very fascinating.
Well, I don't know about MIT or the military, which of course would be two separate things. But I do know about the Law Enforcement Training Center. There's one in Florida. No, I'm sorry. There's one in Georgia, and I believe there may be several others. But I lived in Georgia for a long time, so I'm familiar with that one. Now, a lot of people in the United States don't realize that. You think about if you ask the average person to name all the federal agencies they can think of, they'd probably name the FBI, CIA. Maybe the Inspector General's office if they had a little bit more knowledge, and then they'd kind of be at a loss to name the rest. There are over 90 different federal agencies, and a lot of people aren't aware of this. In the United States, we have over 90 federal agencies. All of them are trained at these law enforcement training centers, and all of them are trained in eye-accessing cues. This is something we get from neurolinguistic programming. The idea that you can look at someone's eyes when they're talking and the direction that they're looking, and you can know whether they're telling the truth or not. And this it's not just like a mother asking a kid, hey, did you eat that brownie? No, Mom, and the kid's looking away. It's not quite that simple. There are certain directions you look when you're making something up visually or making something up auditorily. It's something you hear. As opposed to when you're remembering something that you hear or remembering something that you saw. You look in different directions based on how you're processing the information. So it becomes a very simple process for them to interrogate someone, meaning just sit with someone at a table and have a casual conversation, ask them a few questions, and ascertain whether they're telling the truth or not. So it's a very useful tool. Beyond that, which we would probably just very lightly categorize as interrogation. Beyond that, I'm not aware of any mind control or mind programming that the military or MIT or the federal agencies, federal law enforcement agencies, are engaging in. That's not to say that they're not. I'm just not aware of it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Can you hypnotize somebody that, like over the phone or through using self-help DVDs or videos?
Absolutely. I have on YouTube. I have a lot of videos. If you type in Steve G. Jones, you'll find a lot of videos where I will hypnotize you by video. And I say at the beginning, don't play it while you're in a moving vehicle. But
Yeah.
it's very easy. It's just words. I mean, hypnosis is just words. So, I have a lot of recordings where I hypnotize someone over recording available at my website. I have, I do phone sessions with people where I hypnotize them over the phone. It's not necessary for you to be in the same room as someone as long as they can hear the words that you're saying. That's where the hypnosis happens. It doesn't happen by touching the person or by being in the same room, or you don't even have to be on the same planet, really, as long as they can hear you. I can be in a space station and hypnotize someone on Earth if I want to, as long as they can hear my voice.
Yeah. The reason I was asking is because I've got, several cases that I can't tell what's going on there. Either it's a demonic type case or it's a malevolent type case, but there's some activity going on, and I really can't. I've interviewed the people considerably, and I still can't tell if they're telling me the truth or if they're just plain think they're telling me the truth. What's going on, and so when I start thinking about using hypnosis and so on, I'm just wondering if that is another way for me to maybe use that as an investigative type tool now.
I wouldn't rely on hypnosis as a truth serum. First of all, you're going to have to get them to agree to be put into hypnosis, and if someone's lying to you, then they're not going to agree to that anyway. I found out the hard way because I was invited. I do a lot of reality shows now. I was just on the show Below Deck on Bravo, and I've been on The Millionaire Matchmaker. But on one show that I was on, I was asked to hypnotize this guy who was lying. I knew from the outset that wasn't going to go well because he was hiding something, and I was brought in as the guy who was going to crack the code and get him to spill all. Well, he jumped up from the couch that I was hypnotizing him on camera, and said, "This isn't working. That's it." And so, in order to hypnotize someone to get them to tell the truth, when you know they're lying and you're accusing them of lying, you're saying, "This is what we're going to use to get you to tell the truth," that's not going to work. But by definition of the situation, they're lying. But if you use eye-accessing cues, I encourage people to study eye-accessing cues. That's something you can do without them even knowing it. You can just ask them a series of questions without them really knowing what you're doing, and you can figure out if they're telling the truth or not.
Yeah, that's very cool. Now let me ask you a couple questions about this one video that I paid attention to more so than the others. It was labeled "Door to the Dead." Can you talk a little bit about that video and what was going on there?
Sure. Door to the Dead was a TV show, and it's also been put on the internet now by a few people. Let's see. It was on the network it aired on was True TV. True TV is the old Court TV, and they changed it to True TV, is my understanding. But I was invited probably. Let's see, I'm thinking the year was like 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. I was flown out to the mountains of Virginia, to this house where there was supposedly some kind of possession, some kind of entity was possessing people in the house. Anyone who lived in the house was possessed. So I was flown out there to put people in hypnosis to not to do an exorcism or anything like that, but just to get them to talk about it and to hopefully channel the demon. So, and we did it at night in this house. It was very, obviously with the setup, I was a little nervous during it, and so there we are. We got the TV crew and hypnotizing someone, and there was a guy who was a psychic who was working with a family, he wasn't really getting anywhere, so they called me up. They said, "Hey, Steve, you want to come out and get on the show and help us out?" And I said, "Sure." So I flew out, and I hypnotized the lady, whose name is Jessica, and got her to talk about the demon. And it was fascinating and at the same time scary. I mean, when I was talking to some of the things didn't get on camera that happened. For example, there was a little plastic replica of the Last Supper. You know, Jesus and his disciples at the Last Supper. They had a little plastic replica of that. It was sitting right behind me. And at one point, something fell off of that. And then, and now that didn't get on camera because the camera didn't catch it. Another thing that didn't get on camera, which is also fascinating, you can Google it, by the way, like you said, Door to the Dead, Steve G. Jones, Door to the Dead, if you want to watch the clip. Another thing that didn't make it on the clip was I asked her, I said, is the demon here right now? And they had a parakeet downstairs. And right when I said that, the parakeet said, yes! And I could hear it, but it didn't get picked up on the lavalier mic that I was wearing or that Jessica was wearing, so it didn't make it to the final cut. But it was kind of freaked me out a little bit. So things like that were happening. The part they did get on, if you watch it, was the hypnosis session where I hypnotized her, and where she talked a lot about the demon, the fact that the demon was telling her I think the demon was, I haven't watched in a while, and it's been a while since we did it, but I think the demon was telling her to murder people or something like that. It was very disturbing.
Oh, how frightening.
Yeah. Now, if it was me...
Yeah, that's very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. I've had a couple of cases like that. I went out to one out in Traverse, Oregon. It ended up being a really, really bad case, and we never were able to clear the house. The family moved. We were able to keep it from following the family, but unfortunately, it followed me to my house here. And so we've had activity for, almost a year now.
Wow.
But, yeah, that is so frightening, and I can't imagine. I would like to have seen your look on your face while all that was happening, because I'm sure that was very new to you.
It was. I mean, it was very disturbing to me. And before I flew out, they called me up. They said, "Steve, will you do this?" I said, "Sure," and I flew out. But what I didn't mention is the night before I flew out, I was hospitalized. I had to call 911 because I was having a panic attack. I had to be taken to the emergency room. I thought I was having a heart attack, but luckily it turned out to be a panic attack. I don't know if that was part of, demon related or if it was just me overreacting, but, I had never had that before in my life. Luckily, I was able the next day to fly out.
Stephen, I'm actually a demonologist, so I can pretty much answer that. When you have like a demonic infestation or a demonic type or malevolent type activity, they're real easily able to provoke health conditions onto you that are either long-term effect like cancer would be, or short-time effect like what you experienced. And so it's quite possible. And knowing, depending on what was going on there, and what you do, with the hypnosis and so on, it's quite possible that they had actually some kind of an attack on you as well.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to get validation on that. So it definitely felt like, as I said, it had never happened before. So that's exactly what it felt like in an actual attack. So I'm glad that's over, and I haven't been invited to do any of those since then. And the fact that you're a demonologist, that sounds like being an exterminator. Being exposed to bugs all the time. More power to you, having to live in that world constantly.
Yeah, it's not, I get a kick out of the media and everything and how they portray it, especially the Sci-Fi Channel and the Bio Channel. They're really bad about this. They portray all this stuff to be a good thing, and it drives me crazy because people need to know the seriousness that they're actually getting involved in, Stephen. Like this lady coming to you to be hypnotized, there's a risk to her, there was a risk to you as well. I'll bet you'll think twice about maybe doing that one.
Yeah, I'll put on some kind of cosmic hazmat suit or something, or better yet, I just won't go. The the first thing that occurred to me when I got the phone call is, why are they still in the house? I mean, why do people just not move? This family was just renting. They could have just as easily rented somewhere else. Why do people just not move out?
Yeah, actually, I might be able to answer that one a little bit for you as well. People, it depends what's going on in their house, but there's a couple of issues. One is money. Maybe they don't have money, but the real issue is people are very stubborn in nature, and I'm sure you found that out when you're hypnotizing people. They have a sense to them that they don't want to give in, and if they can't see it, they're not wanting to give into it. They kind of put it back in the subconscious mind, and they say, hey, this is really not happening, but they know it is, or they think it is, so they're wanting answers, and at the same time, it's making them stay where they're at. But I'll tell you what, if I got in a place that is that bad, I'm not waiting for anybody to come in and tell me what I'm already thinking. I'll sort it out later and leave. If there's any real serious issues like that, I'm not going to stay in the house. Because all you're doing is feeding it, one, and two, placing yourself or your friends or your family in danger as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good advice. Get out. I like the old Amityville horror movie said, "Get out." That's good advice.
Yeah. And that's, Chris Peterson in the chat is saying, if the house tells you to get out, then, get out. You can always sort it out later and find out. You can call in an exorcist or a Catholic priest or a shaman or whatever religion you are. But, when something happens like that, you definitely don't want to, you got to find out what it is first before you can actually face it. Otherwise, you might be opening up the wrong avenues to having something really, really dramatic happen.
From first-hand experience, I fully agree with that.
Yeah, and there's, I remain on the scientific and the skeptic side of things, and I'm telling you, I've seen things and heard things and have had things happen that, it makes you wonder. It's confusing, and so, yeah, your video that really caught my attention right away. And I'm like, man, I got to interview Steve and find out exactly what that was about and how it affected you and so on.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that led to this conversation because I've gotten a lot of enlightenment from it, and hopefully those listening have as well.
Yeah, well, they've been commenting about it in chat, and yeah, I'm sure this will be a hot ticket here as soon as we get off the line here. The show will be recorded, and I'll put some links out on your timeline, and they'll go out into cyberspace and do their thing. So that's a good thing about this show. Is 30 seconds after it, ending, then the archives are there for people to listen to, and so on, and so that's a good thing there.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, so if there's anything else you'd like to talk about, I'm all ears, and I'll just let you talk about whatever you'd like to share with us for the next about 12 minutes.
Okay. Well, we have, since we're on this metaphysical concept, astral projection would be great to talk about. I've created.
Okay, I'm definitely up for that. I really like that subject completely.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a very powerful topic. I've created a product for it. It's available at theartofastralprojection.com. Not saying that to sell anyone on it, but there is a free download there that you can get, and you can also check out some information about it. So it's theartofastralprojection.com. Great resource for astral projection. I've got a program there. It's about 18 hours of astral projection information, but the reason I got interested in it is because I got a book on it when I was in military school as a kid. I was in high school and military school, and I got a book about astral projection. Started reading about it, started doing it, started having experiences, and I didn't know whether it was real or not until I had an experience. It was about 1982, and I was, I believe, in 11th grade, and I was in Riverside Military Academy in Gainesville, Georgia. My parents sent me there, and so one night after reading about astral projection, I went to sleep, as I always did, in my bunk bed, and I had a dream about this kid in school who I never really associated with because he was considered to be a bad kid, so I kind of stayed away from him. But in my dream, there we were out after taps. Taps is lights out, 10 o'clock. You're not supposed to be out of your room in military school or you get in trouble. But we were both in my dream.
Right.
In my dream, we were both out of our rooms, and we were about to get caught by the assistant commandant. And we were saying to each other, "What do we do?" So we hid behind one of the buses, and we safely made it through. So I didn't think much about it. The next day, I asked that kid, who I never talked to, I said, "Hey, what did you dream about last night?" And he said, "Well, I dreamt about you." And I said, just to make sure he wasn't being silly, I said, "Well, specifically, what did you dream about?" And he said, "Well, you and I were there, and Colonel Krasnaski was walking by, and he almost caught us, and we were hiding behind the bus." And I thought, oh my goodness, what? This guy had the same, what are the odds this guy had the same dream? And as I was dreaming that, I realized there's something different about that dream than normal dreams. I felt like my body was full of energy, as if I was just, pulsing with energy. My dreams aren't normally like that. There's normally just, I just go through my dream and do things, but my body felt like energy, so I noticed that was different. And the fact that this kid had the same dream I had made me realize that this wasn't a dream. This was an example of me leaving my body, my soul leaving my body, participating in something called astral projection, where your soul leaves your body. And this kid's soul had left his body, and he was astral projecting too, and we were having a real-time experience. And so that's what started me as a kid in high school exploring astral projection.
So I wonder, if you leave your body and you astral project out, do you go into a different world, or you just stay? I mean, is it like on this plane, or excuse me? How does that work? I mean, can you actually enter, let's say, hell or something?
Well, I don't know about hell, but I do know about the astral plane, which is just at a higher vibratory rate than where we are now. We're in a three-dimensional plane, length, width, and height. And if we go into the astral world, we enter what we call the fourth dimension. Now, physicists from Einstein forward call the fourth dimension time. That's what they consider the fourth dimension. Metaphysicists consider the fourth dimension to be the astral world. It's just a matter of semantics, just a matter of the way we devise the nomenclature, the way we name things. But the fourth dimension is considered to be, by metaphysicists, a higher vibratory rate than we're at now. So it's considered to be a world that's superimposed on this one. We're just not able to see it because we're not at that higher vibratory rate, but our astral bodies are. That's why when I was having that quote-unquote dream, my body felt like energy, because it was the part of me, my soul, that is at that higher vibratory rate. And that's why I was able to see this world called the astral plane that's superimposed onto this three-dimensional existence.
Let me ask you this, Chris Peterson in chat. She wants to know, can some other take over your body while you're gone, while you're doing your astral projection thing? Can something else take over your body? Is that possible?
Well, certainly you can have challenges like that. I don't believe that they would be able to fully take over your body, but just as when you leave, you got to think of your astral body as a car, and you're the driver. So if you leave your car, someone else can get in the car. The difference is with your astral body and your physical body, you're connected through the silver cord, which connects from your umbilicus, meaning your belly button, to the umbilicus, or the belly button, if there actually were one, of your astral body, but that area, your lower abdominal area. So that's what pulls you back. That's what keeps you connected to it. No one else shares that relationship with your physical body. Your silver cord from your physical body is only connected to you, to your soul, the essence of who you are. So even if another entity were to enter your body, they wouldn't be able to occupy it in the way that you do. But the way you prevent that is just by surrounding yourself with white light before you astral project. Always surround yourself with protective white light. That keeps any entities with negative intentions out while you're gone.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And it's kind of like, when we go into, let's say we're going into a paranormal investigation, what I always do is try to pray. Well, definitely we have to pray before we go into it. And I always imagine myself into like a white light, and then we pray. I use the Archangel Michael prayer. It's short, it's easy, and so it's almost the same thing is what you're saying there.
Absolutely, same thing.
And so that's really cool. So it just, I saw this one movie, and I wish I could think of the name of it, but the guy had a little boy, and the boy at night would astral project himself, and he went into hell. And the whole show was about him going into hell and then getting lost and not being able to find his way back. So then his dad found out that he could astral project, and he went into hell to find his boy. It's a really good show because it actually set up the basis of this astral projection thing. I don't know if you had seen this movie or not or heard about it.
No, I haven't heard of anything specifically like that, although that is a fascinating concept, and I imagine that's why you asked about the idea of hell when we started talking about this. Is that right?
Yeah, I was just curious. I'm like, well, and I don't know too much about the astral projection thing, and I just find that fascinating. Can anybody do astral projection? Can anybody just actually do this, or is it something that only a few can do? Like psychics or there's only a few psychics that can do what they do, or so I was just wondering about that.
Well, it is available to everyone. Everyone can astral project. In fact, people have dreams of falling and flying, where they're feeling that they're moving through space, and sometimes they wake up after having a dream of falling, or they have a wonderful dream of flying. Those oftentimes are examples of astral projection, of someone actually astral projecting and flying through the astral plane. And you have to keep in mind that your mind has to find something to do with that. I mean, if you don't believe in astral projection or you don't know about it, then your brain is going to have a little bit of difficulty processing it and making it make sense. So the easiest thing for your brain to do, the easiest template for it to force that into, would be a dream. And you can make it into a dream, and then everything becomes okay, and you can get on with your life. But what's really happening in those cases, many times, not all the time, but many times, is that you're actually astral projecting, and your brain is just changing that for you, so that when you wake up in the morning, you don't have to deal with this thing, this concept of your soul being separate from your body, and have to ponder that the rest of the day. You can just get on with your life and do what you have to do.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Can somebody get stuck after they've astral projected outward? Can they get stuck out there and never return to the body? That was part of the movie too. I just wondered how much of that was true.
No, I think this movie has done a bit of a disservice to the world of astral projection. You don't get stuck because of the... Yeah, it's a fascinating movie. I mean, we have all kinds of movies that do disservice to hypnosis too, but you're attached to your body through the silver cord. So that's the cord that connects to the umbilicus of your physical body and your astral body. So that pulls you back. If anything, it's difficult to stay out. It's very easy to go back. All you have to do is think about your body, and you're right back in it. A lot of people who begin astral projection have that challenge. They think about their physical body, and they go back to it, and they think, oh, I didn't want to do that. I shouldn't have thought about my physical body. So if anything, it's difficult to stay out, but it's never, ever problematic to get back in.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, we're almost out of time here. If you could give everybody your links to your webpage, and I do have, I think, most all of your information on the show page itself. But a quick word on your, the one I didn't find was your main website where you have all your activity and stuff. I didn't find that website, but I found you have several other ones and so forth that I did find that I put up there in your videos and so on. Okay.
Yeah, my main website is just my name, Steve G. Jones, and then you add the .com. So stevegjones.com. That'll get you linked to my Facebook fan page, to my LinkedIn. There's a link to... I believe a link to my YouTube videos, a lot of other videos, a link to all of my recordings, a way for you to get a free recording. You just enter your name and email, and we send you a free recording, a way to take the hypnotic suggestibility test to see how suggestible you are. All of that is available at stevegjones.com. If you want to study astral projection, then through a program that I created, that link is theartofastralprojection.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Stephen. And I'd really like to have you on again. There's so much that we haven't even began to touch bases on. This is a huge topic, and there's so many different things to touch bases on, and I'd like to have you on again.
Oh, it'd be my pleasure anytime. Great interview. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You also were a great interview, and I really want to thank you for coming on, and I'd like to thank all the guests for being in chat. It was a weird time for us, as we're normally on at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays, but I wanted to get you on as quickly as possible, and I know I had to bounce around the schedules a little bit, but and make do. But I will send you a direct link here in about 5 minutes here, and we will be in contact, and we will talk very soon. And with that, folks, I will see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. And again, for another show, Beyond the Edge of Reality. It's been a real pleasure. And I want to give a real quick shout to Will Pritchard again for all his help. He's the associate producer of the show. And with that, I just want to wish everybody a great evening tonight. And we will be back next week. All right. Take care, folks.